Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. So this is the very first virtual edition of YeurDreamin. Thank you for joining us. Let's get started with the first slide. I'll do a bit of introductions and then also tell everyone what we're doing today. And of course, you can see the whole team here on screen. Now, what are we going to do today? There's a few sections where we'll have the golden hoodie spotlight, and so you hear all about the golden hoodies, and there's also the keynote with Pallavi. After that, we have a special version of the demo jam. It's a slightly different to what you're used to, and then after that, yeah. I won't say too much, but there'll be some cool things all the way to the end. But first, who are we? So there's 6 of us in the organizing team. So from left to right, there's Andrea, there's PJ, Maya, Olga, Jan, and myself. Let me just do this so you can see everyone here again in real life instead of a photo. And yeah, as you might know, yeah, with this team, we've been working hard to organize, of course, a in-person event in Rotterdam, which we unfortunately had to cancel, and this virtual event. But also in the afternoon today, we will be going to Amsterdam for actual in-person event again. If you haven't registered for that, please do. And of course, if you're in Amsterdam, then why do we do this? And you might have seen this on some T-shirts on the website. So unleash your inner trailblazer. That's our theme. We have the same theme every year because it's unleashing your inner trailblazer, and for us to support it, that's not a 2-day job. So our goal for today is to help you, the trailblazer, to get the create the best version of yourself. We do that by getting you in touch with people, other trailblazers, but also by sharing a lot of knowledge. Jan will tell you a bit about that at the end of the session. But yeah, let's unleash your inner trailblazer. Counts for you, counts for us, and yeah, thanks. Enjoy the live stream.
Well, welcome everyone to YeurDreamin. A fair warning, we're live streaming right now. So that means everything you see is happening in real time, and you can witness it on our YeurDreamin YouTube channel. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat you see on the right-hand side. Maybe you have questions during Q&A or just general questions during the live stream. So we will be monitoring them actively and answering when we have a chance. Just a quick note, you need to be logged in into YouTube with your user to be able to post in the questions in the live chat. So after the event ends, all recorded speaker sessions will be available on our YeurDreamin YouTube channel. Also, the full recording of this live stream will be available there. And so in case you missed anything, you will be able to rewatch it. And please don't forget to post and share about this event on social media using hashtag WD25. So before we jump into the content, yes, next slide. I think it's good to remind everybody what Salesforce community is, because we have some people who've been there in the community for a long time. We have some new people joining as well. So for those who may not be familiar, the Salesforce community is a global network of users, professionals, customers, and partners who want to learn, grow, and support each other within Salesforce ecosystem. So it's highly collaborative. That's one of my favorite parts about this community. And that community always offers mentorships and free learning opportunities, and also real-world experience to help people advance with their careers, which is amazing. And some of the key parts of this community, of course, different groups, such as Salesforce user groups. These groups are local meetups for sharing knowledge. We have, of course, Trailblazer community, which is an online forum organized by Salesforce. We have our MVPs and ambassadors, who are recognized experts who known for giving back. Salesforce Saturdays, informal weekend learning sessions, and of course, community-led conferences, also known as Dreamin events. So YeurDreamin is also one of these conferences. So again, for those who are very new to this concept, a Dreamin event is a community-led conference organized by Salesforce professionals, admins, developers, architects, so people just like you and me. And this event open great opportunity to learn, network, collaborate outside of Salesforce official conferences like Dreamforce. And some of the well-known events include, YeurDreamin, of course, like that we're doing right now, which is a Benelux conference. We have London's Calling in the UK, Midwest Dreaming in USA, and French Touch Dreaming in France. So if you have an opportunity to attend those, we very much recommend it. It's lots of fun. You get to see expert-led sessions, get hands-on training and demos, and keynotes from Salesforce MVPs and influencers. So now, welcome to the 4th edition of YeurDreamin, and we're very excited to bring together professionals from across the Benelux Salesforce community and all over the world. This event, of course, is non-profit and completely run by volunteers, and our goal is to create a unique opportunity for learning, sharing, and networking. So, of course, this event will not be possible without our generous sponsors, PDF Butler, Amrod, Trailblazer Community, Slice Bread, Sharon Picks, and Cloud Muscle. And we would like to give a special thanks to YeurDreamin, which is our sister dreaming conference, which just took place last week in Dublin. We greatly appreciate your generous donation and that helped us to make this event happen. So thank you. So today we have over 400 people registered for the event, attending from all over the world. We have people joining from, of course, Benelux region, Netherlands and Belgium, also USA, India, and Germany. So let's make this a great event. Please engage in the chat, share your thoughts on social media with hashtag YeurDreamin25, and most importantly, enjoy the sessions. Now let's get started.
All right, let's talk about something truly special in the Salesforce world, the legendary Golden Hoodie. Those who are not familiar with Golden Hoodie tradition might be thinking, is this some kind of VIP club for hoodie enthusiasts? Not exactly. The Golden Hoodie is a rare and important honor given to trailblazers who are out there doing well by doing good. Those are the people who not only grow in their careers, but also lift others along the way. It's not an official title like Salesforce MVP or Tableau Visionary or Ambassador. It's a special recognition from the Salesforce. It all started in 2014 when a Salesforce admin shared her inspiring story at Dreamforce, and the audience loved it. Over the years, the recognition evolved, honoring individuals from all backgrounds, whether they were switching careers, skilling up, or making a significant impact in the community. But here is the fun part. It is not an award you can apply for or win by passing an exam. No, there is no formula. Salesforce keeps an eye on the community, looking for those who share their knowledge, support others, or have a true spirit of a trailblazer. And when they find them, bam, Golden Hoodie moment. Now, let's be honest. While the hoodie itself is super cool, it's not really about the swag. It's about the stories, the inspiration, and the message behind it, that everyone in this ecosystem has the power to make the difference. And great insights ahead. Our guests will share what this recognition truly means and why community support and groups play such a key role. We'll hear about 3 very different journeys, each leading to a successful career. We will also pick up valuable tips, not just for the Salesforce world, but also for making most of your dreaming. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We'll answer them at the end of the session. Hosting this discussion is Nina Yachna, Senior Solution Engineer at Salesforce. Nina, over to you.
Thank you very much, Maya. Thank you for this really great introduction. I couldn't have said it better. As said, I'm a Senior Solution Engineer. I work in pre-sales at Salesforce. And it's my great pleasure to be here with you today, hosting this Golden Hoodie panel. Thank you very much, Andrea, Maya, and the team for inviting me and for letting me bring to you some of the journeys and the experiences of our very special guests today. Pallavi, Hussam, and Paul. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I am not, then do let me know. And I think without further ado, since we have a lot of interesting topics to go through, I would like to ask my special guests to say a little bit about their current role and what was their journey in the Salesforce ecosystem, in the Salesforce world so far. Maybe the ladies first. So Pallavi, can I hand it over to you?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Pallavi Agarwal, and I am the CEO and founder of Candor Consult. That's really how my journey started inside Salesforce. About end of 2016 is when I joined the Salesforce ecosystem as a senior manager at a consulting firm, to then shortly after, within a year and a half, starting my own consulting firm, Candor, in 2018.
Thank you very much. Hussam, how about you? I saw in your, let's say, history, your track record that you went from being a Java developer to then becoming Salesforce MVP. How does all of that happen?
Yeah. So hello everyone. So thank you so much for being here. So my name is Hussam Saoudi, and I began my professional careers first as a Java developer in my home country in Morocco. But after more than 3 years developing by Java, my journey took an unexpected turn in 2014. So an agency in Casablanca, newly adopted Salesforce, approached me and contacted me and offered me a job opportunity to work with Salesforce. So I never heard before about Salesforce because Salesforce wasn't very developed at that moment in Morocco. But I did some research on internet, and I saw it's something working really good in United States and in Europe. And then I accepted the challenge. I wanted to be one of the first people working with Salesforce in my region. After that, I became the very first Salesforce MVP in Africa, also Salesforce Golden Hoodie, leading also another conference called North Africa Dreamin in Morocco. Yeah, so this is how my story started with Salesforce.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that, and congratulations on the great achievement, the first MVP title in Africa. I see that Salesforce now is growing a lot in many different parts of Africa, which I think is quite exciting. And to finish off the introductions, Paul, I would want to ask you as well. I saw that until as recently as December last year, you have been a Salesforce developer for 14 years, if I'm not mistaken. How did your journey look like?
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. Really pleased to be here, obviously. I came into the Salesforce ecosystem back in 2011. I was previously working in IT, and a friend asked me to help him out, and like over a weekend because he was too busy. And he said at the end of the weekend, "How much do I owe you?" And I said, "Oh, don't worry, I'm just enjoying working with this platform so much. Just give me some more work." And so that's how I entered it. And since then, I've been a Salesforce consultant for nonprofit and small businesses. And last year, and that's mainly been my journey. At the very end of last year, beginning this year, I actually became an ADHD coach, and there is very much a connection through my Salesforce route. But I have a sneaking suspicion you might ask me a question about that later.
There might be a question on that, so let's keep the audience waiting for a little bit longer. But thank you so much. Very nice to have you all in here. I would like to kind of dig a bit deeper into the meaning of what the Golden Hoodie is about. Maya already, I think, gave a very good introduction of this recognition. But what I'm curious about is kind of the impact that it has had on some of your lives. And I think, Hussam, you might be the person to bring up on stage now. And here, I mean professional impact, but also personal impact is absolutely fine. At YeurDreamin, for instance, we discussed, whether you need to make some adjustments when you do your washing, when you have a golden hoodie now in your wardrobe. So any influence that this recognition has had on you?
Yeah, of course. So the Golden Hoodie has had both professional and personal impacts on my life. Let's start by professional. So professionally, it's opened doors to deeper engagement with Salesforce community. So it's bring me to be more visible, to share my knowledge with the community, to participate also in some Salesforce events, some community events like this call today. So I'm very humbled and I'm happy to be here. It's also so this is how professionally Golden Hoodie helped me, but personally, this reorganization is also very important because it serves as a reminder that my contribution, big or small, are very important and matter. And also, it's like a message when I wear this golden hoodie. It's like I'm sending a message to all people that please share your knowledge, take care of your community, because all things that you are doing has an impact. And yes, having a golden hoodie, it's something good to have. And also other things that changed my life personally, it's I need to watch and to be careful how I need to watch my golden hoodie, because this is a special this is a special golden hoodie, and I need to be careful about watching this golden hoodie.
Mhm.
um, Other thing personally, when I wear this golden hoodie and at any Salesforce events, people can come and say to me hi and start the conversation with me without any problem, because they know I'm a Salesforce golden hoodie, and they can come to take pictures with me, saying that, oh nice, you have a nice jacket, can I touch your jacket please? So this is something also very nice personally. Yeah,
Hmm.
so this is my
Sounds
experience.
yeah, sounds like a very interesting experience, and I can really see how people would be very attracted in your hoodie and wanting to come to you and speak to you. But it's also a nice kind of way of showing that you're open to that and you're open to that contact. You mentioned the community and being able to really be a part of that and kind of support the community around. One of the biggest topics I try to do myself outside of my official work and my role at Salesforce is that I really try to support the local Trailblazer communities. For me, it's mostly in Central Eastern Europe because that's kind of the region I mostly work with. I'm originally from Poland as well, but these community groups are all around the world. And here, Paul, I wanted to ask you about those communities. I know that you have been and you are heavily involved. You are, for instance, a co-leader of the Amsterdam user group. You were also a founder, one of the founders of the nonprofit Dreamin. Is there anything that you particularly enjoy about them, or you think something that's very valuable about them?
Um, Thank you. I mean, just hearing the question, it. The community group network is just a huge part of my life, and it's actually quite hard to say what I enjoy most about community groups because there's so much to it. So what I'm going to think about, what I want to do is just start with explaining how I get involved, how I got involved, because I think that puts a lot of context to it. When I went to my first admin group back in 2014 in London, my fellow panelists may not, and certainly the organisers may not realise it, but I was shy and socially awkward. There I found a safe and welcoming place where I could be myself and express my love for all things geeky, and also practice my social skills with a group of people who are warm, welcoming, and non-judgmental. This really helped unlock parts of me which were hidden away and gave me a chance to breathe. Fast forward to 2017, and I arrived in Amsterdam. So together with Andre van Kampen, who's many of you know, who's one of the organisers of today's event, Sergey Ehrlich, who's now working at Salesforce, and another, we started the official Amsterdam user group. And it was all unpaid and, quite frankly, time intensive, but the rewards have been immense. On a personal level, to create a Dutch version of that safe, welcoming space, and to pay it for that others have created for me, and to pay it forward, it's been amazing. Like, words can't express. But also when I see user group attendees who are my friends, I mean, it's not just the people, they really are my friends, and so I guess that's an obvious benefit. I have moved now to Glasgow, to Scotland, but I track their progress on LinkedIn. I log on and I've played my little part. So hopefully they're aware too of how much they've helped me. Now, on a professional level, I'm now reasonable at many logistical things, which I wouldn't have had an opportunity to do otherwise. Whereas organising something for 10 people used to stress me out, it has to be at least 80 people now before there's any hint of a stress. And also I can spot a painful presentation at 100 paces and just help the person who's doing that presentation in the same way that I've been helped. But most of all, I think it'll be clear it's the people. As well as mentoring, you're always learning from the mentees. I've met trailblazers and been to places and had experience that I would never have had otherwise. So just very quickly, just a couple of examples. Whether it's being on the Salesforce boat during Amsterdam Pride, which my t-shirt, which I'm very happy about, visiting a new friend in Bulgaria, and I didn't like traveling, to present at their user group, or doing a litter pick on the canal after YeurDreamin. It's both been fun and enriching mentally. So I've never volunteered to benefit, but I find I always benefit so much.
Thank you so much. I think it's a very inspiring example of just in how many ways the trailblazer communities have a huge impact. I personally also experienced the same, even without being a member and joining every single time, but visiting the different community groups and meetups from time to time. I absolutely agree. And your presentation skills seem to be very, very good now. You're very confident. So I think it's just one of the ways in which it really, really shows how we can also upskill by joining these groups, not only in Salesforce, maybe knowledge, solutions, technology, but also on many different levels and many different areas. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. I would like to talk a little bit about risk taking, because maybe going into a community meetup is not too much of a risk, although for some people it might be. But I think an example of a very big risk that was taken here, at least from my perspective, is what you, Pallavi, did when you created your own cloud transformation consulting firm, the one you're working at, you're leading now. I wanted to ask you, what made you take this big and potentially risky step and become a business owner?
Yeah, and you'll hear definitely more about it in the keynote as well, with the real journey of what it took. But it was a risk, but it wasn't a risk, was the best way to put it. The best advice I had when I was starting Candor was, what do you have to lose? And I thought about it, and I really sat there. I was in a friend's office, a family friend, and he was like, what do you have to lose? Why don't you start this firm? You've been talking about wanting to start your own business for years. And I was like, time and money. That was my risk at the time, right? And then I thought about it, and I was like, wait, actually, time isn't a risk at all, because I'm going to learn. Even if I fail at this, I'm going to learn something. So time will never be lost. And with money is just something that comes and goes in life. You can't ever guarantee having money, right? I've been through multiple scenarios in my life where I had great jobs, I had good disposable income, to I'm living dollar to dollar because I decided to go back to school or whatever, and circumstances change. So in that regard, I was like, I guess there really isn't that much of a risk. And what's the worst that can happen? What's my plan B? My plan B is I just go back to the industry and get a job. So it didn't seem like a big risk. But even it was a very big risk. It still is 7 years later. But I think one of that conversation really helped me jump in with both feet and say, okay, I can do this. I can commit myself to try starting a company for at least a year and just see how it works out. And I put some goals together for that year, and I exceeded those goals. So then I was like, okay, I actually did this. Holy crap. Like, I was very, very surprised at myself. And then I was like, I got to stick to it for another 2 years. And we hit our 3-year mark, and we were still going, doing well. And through it, we survived the pandemic. And I was like, okay, if I can survive something as big as the pandemic and still be around as this tiny little company that I just started, then it should be okay. And so after that 3-year mark, surviving through the pandemic, I just never looked back. And I think one of the biggest success factors for me at Candor is not me, actually. It's our beautiful team. It is the dedicated team that we have today that believes in Candor, that believes in the work that we do, and really, really takes the passion and the culture of Candor and exuberates it with our client delivery.
Mm-hmm. It seems like you created a sort of a community on your own then within Candor. I really like what you said, and I think for many people, kind of taking a step back and looking at it, that it's not a huge risk, that maybe you can always go back, or you can, go back to how you're doing things now, more or less, is always an option. So there's really not much that you can lose. I think this is a very important lesson for anyone wondering if there's another path they should give a try, basically.
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much. And yes, I hope as many of you as possible who are here today will be able to make it to the keynote. I'm really looking forward to that. Paul, I saw that you also, and you mentioned that already, took a big transformational step as well, and not in terms of creating your own consulting firm, but you did change your role completely and you became an ADHD coach. Can you tell me what that Salesforce connection is?
Yeah, really happy to do so because I regard it part of my, not particularly modestly, but I regard it part of an incredible journey because I've had that experience. So I've been keen and been able to articulate that I love enabling others and unlocking potential. I've been doing that for some time. It's often been for my Salesforce clients when working as a consultant at various organizations. It turns out that the clients I work for time and time again would be highly intelligent, but easily distracted. What I didn't realize was that this is a very common ADHD trait. My clients had chosen me because even during the initial meetings, we worked well together. I could understand them and instinctively knew the appropriate workarounds to gently pull them back on track if there was a distraction. But also, I didn't go through things in a particularly sequential order. I forewarned my client after a while. I forewarned my clients of this, and they didn't mind because they knew that I would cover the work, just not necessarily in the order that they expected. And I now know that this is part of my own ADHD. It's got its advantages, and it means that I often challenge conventional wisdom and offer a different viewpoint, which can be factored into whichever project that I'm working on. So sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's like, well, we've heard and actually we want to do this, and that's fine. That's all part of the conversation. But yeah, as I said, gives them things that they wouldn't have otherwise thought of. Anyway, so the technology platform is also absolutely fantastic. And it really offers a deep dive. It delivers results quickly, and that's great for neurodivergent types. So a working environment, which could have actually been part of the problem, has been part of the solution for me. So that's how I was. And due to some sleeping issues, I went on a health investigation, which led to my ADHD diagnosis back in 2021. And I also got an autism diagnosis thrown in for free. And I wasn't really expecting both, but you get the diagnosis, you go on a journey, and then you learn more about it. In hindsight, it's obvious, but thanks, that's hindsight. So right now, I want to pay it forward, as well as have a good career. So it turns out that listening as a consultant and helping people take a pause from their daily activities to work out what's best for the future is a surprisingly transferable skill. So I wanted to become more involved in the ADHD ecosystem. So being an ADHD coach seems the best of both worlds for me. And given my interactions, it possibly comes as no surprise. But it now comes as no surprise that many of my clients are from the Salesforce ecosystem. So I've managed to link the two. And also because I've had these wonderful opportunities, I'm very happy to, and I want to explain about ADHD because it's like the science around it is all changing. It used to be thought that you could have ADHD but not autism, and now you can have both. And like so few studies have been done on women, like a terribly few amounts. So it's just a good excuse and opportunity to explain what's going on to people. And so I'll always take any opportunity to do that.
Thank you very much for sharing that, for kind of opening up with us as well about your journey. It's a very fascinating one. And I encourage everyone who's here, who's in this panel, watching it now or rewatching later, to also check out what Paul is doing. And if you have any questions, I'm sure he will open to answer.
If I may cheekily say, yeah, absolutely. So I blog about ADHD and Salesforce. Before I realized that I had ADHD, there's a whole series of blogs saying, here are reasonable accommodations if you struggle with learning, if you struggle with taking exams, if you struggle with social interactions. And kind of my journey's been documented. So on my website, naturallypaul.com, you can see those. And I'm really happy to answer any questions that anyone has. It's part of that joy of the community that everyone just helps each other out, and I've bought into that, so that still continues very much. Thank you, Nina.
Perfect, of course. A question for you, Hussam. Sorry that you've been kept a bit quiet for a longer time. I'm very curious about Morocco. I have some colleagues from Morocco who are working, for instance, towards female empowerment in the country. You're here today among all of us, the only one from Morocco, and I see you're quite engaged in your home country as well. Can you explain a little bit what you do there, and why do you think it's important to encourage new investment and encourage activity?
Yeah, so as the only Salesforce MVP from Morocco, I feel like a strong responsibility to actively encourage investments in Morocco for several reasons. First one, economic growth. So Morocco, or the African continent in general, has a lot of untapped potential, especially in the field of technology and innovation. By encouraging investments, I believe that we can create more job opportunities for young people, and also help to grow our economy. But also because we have talent. In Morocco, we speak several languages: Arabic, French, English, and a little bit of Spanish. And we have a growing pool of talent, especially in tech and engineering. And by attracting investments, we can give this talented individual more opportunities, and also give our customers some resources that can help them to grow. But also because for me, I have a personal reason. By encouraging investors to come to Morocco to invest in, let's say, in my region in general, North Africa or Africa, it's something very important, because I wanted to be, it's not like bringing money, bringing capital. It's something more related by created history. So one day when everything will be very, let's say, more, when we will have more customers here in Morocco or in Africa, one of the reasons will be me, because I encouraged investors to come and invest. And I can feel this in Morocco, because today we have many local customers buying Salesforce, working with Salesforce. Is something today is grow, and I can notice this also in my community events, North Africa Dreaming. So each year we receive more people, we receive more, let's say, companies. So, and this is also something that encouraged me to continue and encourage companies and people to use Salesforce as a field. So this is why I'm motivated also to stay here in Morocco, to give an example. Yeah, and I know that I can influence some people, and for this reason I'm staying here in Morocco, even if I received more interested opportunities outside in Europe or in United States, but I prefer to stay here in Morocco, because I can do what I am doing here, from Casablanca, and also to help my country, my region to grow also. So this is the reason why.
Thank you very much. I think it's very, very inspiring, and I see a similar kind of wish or hope from some of my friends also in the ecosystem, working in countries which are maybe still on the development path, or at least in terms of digital transformation maturity. Some places where there are a lot of companies that can still really benefit from solutions like Salesforce. So fingers crossed, and best of luck for your efforts. And talking about Salesforce and kind of making it, using it to the best, in the best possible way. Pallavi, I noticed on your LinkedIn profile, you say that one of the goals that you have is to help organizations unleash the full potential of Salesforce. And here I wanted to ask, why do you believe that's needed, and how are you kind of approaching this goal? How are you trying to achieve it?
Yeah, I can definitely answer that. But before I do, I just want to shout out for Morocco again, because I went to North Africa Dreaming, gosh, Hassan, what was it, like 2-3 years ago? And such a beautiful country. And North Africa Dreaming, the event itself was amazing. I highly encourage everybody to go to. I'm not getting paid to say this. I'm just telling you, it was a great time. It's a beautiful country. I was very, very well surprised by it. But talking about transformation and unleashing the potential, right, of Salesforce, that was part of the reason I started Candor. I've been doing consulting for, I'm going to date myself, like over 20 years now. And, you know, we, at times we get lost in building the solution versus why we're building the solution and what it's really intended for. And that's really what it's about with unlocking and unleashing the potential. We also don't always pause and take a step back to think about what the solution that we're building, how does this support overall business? What is the long-term goals? And so when we're helping customers, we're coming in to solve problem A. But there's probably problem B, C, and D, but they don't even know it's a problem yet, because the technology is new to them. They don't know what they don't know. So it's partly our responsibility as consultants to also guide them through that journey, to show them the art of the possible through these wonderful products that Salesforce has, right? To really, really help them figure out, how do we take this one problem and solve for it, but really uncover all the things that are possible and potentially solve for 100 other problems that they hadn't identified yet, because they didn't even know what they didn't know was possible with Salesforce. And when you give them that, that's really unlocking and unleashing the potential. And that's when Salesforce as a tool becomes really powerful for an organization to really think through, I can not only do this, but I didn't even know I could do this, this, and this on top of it. And it really elevates their game and puts them in a more competitive edge in their industry, right? And that's what Salesforce is really about. And that's why, like, given all the products I've worked on in my life, Salesforce was the product we chose to focus on as a company, right? I get asked that question a lot. Why Salesforce, Pallavi? You've done SAP, you've done AWS, you've done PeopleSoft Financials, you've done custom Java. Like, why did you pick Salesforce? And it is because Salesforce is a product that has versatility and can really, really have art of the possible. I don't think, with all of us listening in, watching, tuning in, I'm sure other panelists, like, I don't think there's a problem we can't solve inside of Salesforce, right? Like, if they're like, can we do this? The answer is always yes. It is possible. It might require some customization. Might not be out of the box, but it's possible. And that's really what we're talking about when we talk about unleashing the potential and really doing digital transformation versus technology implementation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. I think it's very true. And what's interesting as well is that oftentimes, on one hand, it's about understanding what your own challenges are as an organization, but on the other hand, also being aware of what Salesforce is capable of and kind of which areas can Salesforce tackle. Because I still sometimes meet organizations that think, okay, Salesforce, that's only sales. For anything else, we have to look somewhere else. And on the other hand, also the fact, for instance, there's App Exchange, right? So it's not only Salesforce, even though that's already a lot, it's also partner solutions or anything anyone just decides to kind of add on top and make available to others. So I fully agree. I think it's both that needs to come together, and a company like yours definitely helps to make that happen. So Best of luck for your coming projects. And now, before we actually go and see if there's any questions from the audience, I have one last question for each of you, maybe starting with Paul. For anyone who's here on the call, what would your advice be, or like a single tip on how to make the most out of today at YeurDreamin, or any other dreaming conference that's coming up this year?
There had to be a technical glitch by the end of it, so I was muted. Now I'm not muted, which is good. So I think I've got two because
That's okay.
you asked the one question. I've got two. For the virtual part, kind of with my neurodivergent hat on, you're not going to be able to see. There's 35 sessions going to be released very shortly. You're not going to be able to see them all today. So pick one or two that you can really get into and that call to you. Perhaps not something you already, perhaps something you want to learn more on that you're already familiar with, but also perhaps something that you're not at all familiar with to broaden. So depth versus breadth, you've got to make that consideration. And you can always come back and do the others later. And if you don't, that's also fine because it's not realistic to do all 35. Sorry. But the other thing is, if you're coming to the in-person segment later on today, chat to people. When you chat to some people that you really want to chat to, but also some random people, because you never know what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years' time. So you have to put in the seeds today, and when you have that second and third and fourth conversation, then it all becomes amazing. I could go on about that, but like the people that I didn't remember the names of, like for 4 or 5 times, I was quite well known for not knowing people's names, eventually became my user group co-leaders because they were so bloody awesome. So yeah, you just never know where these things are going to lead, basically. So that kind of an open mindset is just leads to rewards. And also, whoever you chat to, everyone's come for similar reasons, so you're going to have a good conversation with everyone. Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you, Nina, as well for hosting and asking these lovely questions.
Thank you. Hussam, over to you. Any tips?
Yeah, well, I can add that you need to set a goal. Why you are here? Are you here to learn more about Salesforce? Are you here to network, or are you here to hire people? Because this is also something important for some companies. Plan your schedule. So review the agenda. Plan your schedule in advance. Choose and pick 1 or 2 or 3 sessions, and you can watch others later. Network, so identify key people that you want to reach out to them, so you can reach out to them. If you are in Amsterdam, go after the virtual part to in-person part. I think it will start at 4 p.m. So if you are in Benelux region or Amsterdam, please go to in-person event also. Use social media. So don't hesitate to post about YeurDreamin event, about today, about this conference. You can use the hashtag YeurDreamin25 because this is also something very important. Take a note and also follow up. So after the conference, you can reach out to people and talk about with them. So this is some advice that I'm giving to people.
Thank you so much. And thank you for today for your participation as well. And then Pallavi, anything that you would add?
Network. I started in the ecosystem not even knowing about this beautiful community. And I remember how nervous I used to be when I got there and shy, believe it or not. No one would believe I'm shy today, but like I used to be very shy, and because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand the community. I was still navigating, trying to figure out where I fit in. And it's okay. Ask for help. Tell people why you're there, right? Like as mentioned, set your goal or your intention, follow up, take notes, go to sessions, learn, but also network in a way where it's authentic to you. And be authentic. This community has been, I mean, I've been around for a while, and like this is probably the safest community to be yourself in. It's been a very welcoming, uplifting, judgment-free zone, very accepting, And I would say who I am today is 99% because of the community and how much support I got when I joined the community, and where I am today because of the community. So as you also grow in that community, give back, because I still meet people who were like me when I joined the community back in 2018. And it's just a blessing to be part of this community. So don't be shy.
Thank you so much. I think it's a beautiful way to kind of almost finish. Let's see if there's any questions, but to kind of just reflect on how strong, how big the power of the community is, of the Trailblazer community we have, of the groups, of community events like this one, like YeurDreamin, and just how much impact the words and advice you shared today can have. At least on me, I'm already very inspired. So I'm sure some members of our audience are as well. I see Andre joined. Hi, Andre.
Hi. Yeah, we do have a few questions. Well, funny thing is we have a lot of, how do you say that? Comments. I will show the comments first, and then we'll end with the questions. It's actually really good to see. For instance, there's this one about North Africa dreaming. Then also keep it up. Now one for Paul. And I like this one. So yeah, always good to hear this type of comment. Actually, about North Africa dreaming. Again, let's all hope we can let's all go to North Africa dreaming. And okay, one more about North Africa dreaming. But also, let's see. So Pallavi, very shy. And just about your company name.
That's a very nice one.
I think this really fits well also with the community and the conversations we've been having here. Now, sorry. And there's this one more general about the Trailblazer Community Groups program, and indeed the Golden Hoodie program is one of them. Thank you, Renee. Then a question. Sorry, I'm just looking through the list of comments too. Before sorry, this one first. I think this is a really good one. Of course, continues on to what you were saying. For anyone joining a community conference, or even a Salesforce conference or user group, if you want to meet people but you don't know how, or you're too scared, or you're having panic attack, or anything along those lines, walk up to one of the organizers or an MVP or Golden Hoodie or anyone like that. They will first calm you down, and then if you're ready for it, get you in contact with other people.
I think that's also a very nice one for people who tend to kind of stick with their own. If you come with someone to the meetup, I think that's the strategy you can kind of default to, and it's comfortable. But also from my experience, something I'm working on is to kind of try and go and talk to someone I really don't know, and it usually goes well, or it always goes well.
Now, it's a long one. I'll let you read it first. So, of course, events like this, you definitely need sponsors. And also, I'm not sure if you want to answer this now, but definitely get in touch, of course, with each other.
Yeah, I can answer this. So my first advice, focus more about local sponsors. This is my advice. Local sponsors.
And indeed, local sponsors, local events, local communities. And talk about local, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, but Pallavi, is it 5 a.m. where you are, just to show commitment to the community?
4:53, and I'm not a morning person, so I really love you guys. That's why I'm here.
Thank you. That's that was all the comments for now, unless I missed one. No, that was all for the comments. Thank you.
Perfect. In that case, I think unless any one of you still wants to add something, I think we're right on time. So thank you very, very much again for your openness, for your tips, for sharing your journeys, and for kind of the future, willingness to connect, to talk with anyone who's there in those events, trying to learn more, trying to get some advice, or just connect and network, which we learned is a very important thing to do at community events. So thank you very much. And I hope every one of you also tuning in online will enjoy your day today and learn as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And back
Bye.
to Maya.
Thank you. Thank you, Nina, Pallavi, Hussam, and Paul. We absolutely loved hearing from you, and I hope everyone found it as insightful and engaging as I did. Now, as we continue with the next session, I just want to check in with all of you. How is everyone doing so far? Say hi in the chat. I hope you are feeling inspired and energized. All right, let's keep things moving and get ready for the keynote. It is my pleasure to present Pallavi Agarwal, the founder and CEO of Kender, a dynamic Salesforce consulting firm based in Washington, D.C. With over 16 years of management consulting experience, Pallavi has become an expert in guiding organizations through successful digital transformations. She has helped many companies enhance their operational efficiency and elevate customer engagement. Now, here is something really special. As Andrew said, it is 4:30 a.m. where Pallavi is joining us from. So let's give her a big virtual round of applause for waking up so early to share her incredible insights with us. Today, she will be sharing her journey, her impact, and how she's driving change that's making real difference in the Salesforce ecosystem. Without further ado, let's welcome Pallavi Agarwal.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you for having me. I'm going to try to hit present and see if this will work. Sorry, guys, just 1 second. We're having technical difficulties.
Yes, now we can see the slide.
Great. Sorry about that, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Welcome and good morning again. And before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you to the team for having me. It's really an honor to be here. I know it's 5 a.m., but this is what being part of the community means, giving back. And I love being part of this community. So even though I'm not a morning person, I was like, yes, I will be there virtually if I can. So thank you again for having me. A little bit about me when we'll get into that, but I also want to take a minute to thank our sponsors for making this event happen. And thank you for the YeurDreamin organization team. It's a lot of hard work behind the scenes to make this event happen, even virtually. There's a lot back chatter that I'm seeing as well with the team supporting to make even this keynote happen. So I just wanted to take a minute to thank them for organizing this wonderful event, thanking the sponsors for making the event happen, and most importantly, you as the participants who are here today. Thank you for being here, because I always say if you weren't here, I'd be speaking to an empty room. So I really appreciate you all being here. So a little bit about me. I wanted to start off with just talking about who I am as an individual. So my name is Pallavi. Pallavi. I hear Pallavi. Believe it or not, I get paella on autocorrect a lot. So names have some significance, and me being Indian really is something I'm very proud of. Being of Indian origin, being born in India, moving to America at a young age. But my name also goes deeper than that. In Indian culture, we really believe that names help shape your personalities, really help build out who you are as a person through and through your life. And they have real historical significance against it. So my name actually means flower bud or new shoot. In other parts of India, it's actually lyrical stances through poems or songs. So it has a lot of beautiful meaning to it. And I'm just lucky that my parents named me that, because I see how much it's reflected into my own personality from a creative side, as well as just constantly growing and blooming even through the hardest times in my life. So a little bit about me. I've been in the ecosystem fairly recently. I only joined the Trailblazer community or learned about it in 2018. I started working with Salesforce at the end of 2016. So fairly new into the Salesforce ecosystem, but have been consulting for over 20 years now in Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies. And we'll get into my career journey soon. But I've also been a design architect and a design ambassador for the Salesforce community. I was honored with the Golden Hoodie by Parker in 2023, which was probably one of the biggest moments in my life. Very humbling. And I have been lucky enough, very blessed to be able to travel the world to speak in thought leadership and contribute to blogs in our Salesforce ecosystem around topics that are relevant to the work that we do today around AI, design thinking, pulling consulting requirements and doing right delivery and implementations. Outside of that, I'm also the board leader for the Women Founders Group. So any women founders in the audience, like those who have your own companies, please personally message me. We have a wonderful community group inside of Salesforce where we really support each other. And then one of my biggest passions in life is giving back to the community in different ways, like mentoring and coaching women in tech, being the co-leader of the DC admin group, and also one of the co-creators of Bubba Blazer. Outside of doing all the things that I do, I really am passionate about snowboarding, traveling the world, and hiking different mountains through the world when I have time. So let's talk about my journey, right? And I hope this will resonate with each of you in your own journey. So my career really started back in 2005 when I was graduating college. I joined Accenture, but I joined Accenture accidentally is the best way I can put it. I was graduating college in June of 2005, and near graduation, I was having major life crises because I was graduating with marketing and international business as my majors, and I did not know how to align my career to my academic focus. For marketing at the time, it was all telemarketing jobs. You had to start by cold calling because that's just how it was back then, and that was just not something that I could do. It was not in my DNA. And for international business, I think from a global scale, it was still sort of new of like, what is international business? And my school, being one of the top schools in the country, luckily just happened to have a consulting panel. And literally the sign on the door at my school said, "Don't know what to do with your life as you're graduating, come join the consulting panel." So I went to the consulting panel. It was Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, and Booz Allen. And they all represented their different companies and the type of work they were doing. And there was something about Accenture that was just like, okay, this sounds great. This sounds like a fit. I get bored very quickly. I want to be able to switch projects. I'm going to be learning new things all the time. And best of all, I'm going to be able to travel because I'll be in consulting. So I applied for Accenture. I got lucky enough to land a job with them. And that's really where my career started trajecting. And I remember my first day on the job, I was assigned to Department of State, which is a federal agency in the US. And we were building out a custom, like we were basically gutting out PeopleSoft financials and making it custom inside for supply chain. So I helped design the supply chain for Department of State to move shipments around the world. But I still remember when I started that journey, my day one on the job was I was going to be a QA, quality assurance analyst. And we were 3 months from going live, and I needed to start testing the software. And I still remember that day because in my head, I was just like, what is software? And that's how my journey started in the tech world, was just learning everything as I went. And within months, I was doing the demos independently in front of the government clients who were at the time like third or fourth under Secretary of State, and learning this and really building, designing, implementing, doing all of the SLD, working with our tech team to say that to build the system out. Then once we launched it, I went to a different agency, helped design their supply chain. And then eventually I was like, I've done federal for 7 years. I really want to try something different. So I went into the commercial practice, and Deloitte found me. And all of a sudden, I also finally got to travel, because when I was at Accenture, because I live in DC and my clients were in DC, I never got to travel. So Deloitte hired me, and I started traveling to LA cross country every week. And that's how I got introduced into the commercial practice, into banking. And that was when the big Bank of America scandal had happened for mortgage back, where their systems weren't calculating properly and taking extra money out of the consumers. It was a big scandal. And so Deloitte was in charge of rebuilding that system in a more correct way of making sure that the people who were paying these mortgages were actually being given a fair chance. And so we were responsible for that. And then from there, I decided to take a little break, which I called my mini retirement. And I went and got an MBA, because at that point I had been consulting for almost 8 years. And I just was a little burnt out. I thought maybe I should explore something outside of consulting. So I went back to go get my MBA. And while I was getting my MBA, I moved to California for it. And I got introduced to this world of Hollywood and studios. And I, just watching TV, being a movie buff, I did not actually realize how much technology goes into everything in those studios. And so I was lucky enough to land a job at Disney. That's where I worked on Rombi, which has now been bought out, but used to be a on-the-go analytics tool. And so we were trying to build that out for Disney and get it to the executive teams, where you could pull reports on the go, get the metrics on your mobile, and move forward into meetings. And then streaming and cloud was just starting to become a thing in that time. And so I moved over to Fox for an internship and actually helped them QA their streaming app, because we were just launching all the companies, all the studios were launching their own streaming apps. And there's actually formulas that go into it, in America at least, is for a 30-minute show, you have to have X number of minutes of ad time, and then you have to break that into segments. So part of my job in QAing was working with our team to ensure we were putting the ad times accurately, that if it's a 30-minute show, it's actually only 25 minutes plus 5 minutes of ad time. And then you have to sync it throughout the segment. But also then you had to test it to make sure it worked across the streaming apps, like this streaming platforms. Like I was using Samsung TVs to Roku's and things like that to make sure that it was all working as it should. So that was like the genesis of my career of like, wow, we're moving from ERP systems to now these cloud and streaming and mobile. And that's where, after my internships and my MBA, I actually moved over to Silicon Valley and went to start work for a startup consulting firm. So I went from like hundreds of thousands of employees to being employee number 10 at Verity Consulting. And that's where I really saw what the startup world looked like. Started working with a Fortune 100 company there where we were doing SAP CRM. That was my first introduction to the CRM world, as well as cloud. So we were actually gutting out Oracle ERP and implementing SAP CRM. And I was in charge of being the PM for master data management, as well as business intelligence. And then also I was the PM for the global change lead. So I was at the front and the back end of the CRM cycle, as well as then how are we going to do change across the world for this big implementation to ensure that there's right adoption, users are getting what they need, and that it's a successful system. So I did that for a while. And part of the reason I left, and this is a secret that you'll learn through this, through my presentation, is I am fairly lazy. And being at Verity and driving from San Francisco to Sunnyvale, California, took me 2 hours each way in my commute. And I was getting really burnt out because I was working 70, 80-hour weeks with that commute. So I was just like, I can't do this anymore. So I actually found a different company, Pierce Washington, that actually had offices in San Francisco. So now my commute time went from 2 hours to 20 minutes. And that was the only reason I joined that company, was their offices were local. And first time ever in the consulting world, I found a consulting firm that only worked 40 hours a week, which I had never heard of. So as a joke, I applied to this company and I was like, yeah, right. There's no consulting firm out there that does 40 hours. And I went and interviewed. I met their team. I started asking how much they worked. And they were all like, about 35 hours. I'm like, there's no way. And they're like, no, it really happens. So I was like, okay, let me try it. And I remember the partners asking me, do you know anything about CPQ? I'm like, no, I don't even know what CPQ stands for. But I still got the job. And within a week of getting the job of and implementing Oracle CPQ, they handed me one of their top financial firm accounts and said, go implement this with a team. So I had to learn Oracle CPQ on the fly as I was leading the delivery for a Fortune 100 financial firm in America. From there, I needed to come back to DC to be closer to my family. And so I started reaching out to my friends and I was like, hey guys, I'm looking to move back to DC. Does anyone know if your companies are hiring? And a random friend was like, hey, Pallavi, my company's hiring. Why don't you just apply here, send me your resume? So I did. And that company was Acumen Solutions. And believe it or not, I knew nothing about Salesforce. So when I interviewed with Acumen, I got through most of their rounds. And for the final round, they wanted me to fly back to DC for an all-day interview. And I had no more vacation left at my current Pierce Washington company. So I was like, how am I going to do this interview? I can't ask for time off. I have no more PTO left. I need to do this interview. And I remember HR had mentioned there was a conference that the team was going to come out to in San Francisco. So I just asked HR, I was like, hey, the folks that are going to be interviewing me in this all-day thing, are they going to be coming to San Francisco in the next few weeks for this conference you were mentioning? And she's like, they are. I was like, well, can I just interview there then? Because then it'll also save you money for paying for my flights out there. And HR was a little perplexed, and they were like, let me get back to you. This has never been asked. And they did. They got back to me and they were like, okay, instead of doing a full day interview, we're just going to do an hour for you at this conference. But instead of you meeting one partner at a time, we're just going to put all 5 partners at a round table, and they're just going to do like a firing round with you. And I was like, okay, no problem. Let's do it. Little did I know that conference was Dreamforce. So believe it or not, I interviewed with Acumen at Dreamforce in 2016. Again, living in San Francisco, because I was working with Oracle and I was in the Oracle world, I knew everything about Open World, which is the equivalent of, it's similar to Dreamforce, but nothing about the Salesforce world besides the fact that they had a brand new tower in downtown San Francisco. So Acumen's like, what do you know about Salesforce? I'm like, nothing. I just know there's a tower here. And they just started laughing and they're like, so why should we hire you? And I was like, well, I'm really good at what I do. And, but they're like, but you don't know the product. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't know Oracle CPQ either. And I didn't know Rombi. I didn't know SAP CRM. I didn't know Java, but I've done all of these successful implementations time over time because a lot of it's around the framework and I can learn the technology. And I think they really liked my confidence, but they also just wanted to test me. So surprisingly, they gave me the job and I moved back to DC, and that's how I was introduced to the Salesforce world. And as soon as I joined Acumen, they handed me one of their top 10 accounts as a portfolio manager and said, you own this entire portfolio now. Go make sure all the implementations are happening. Again, knew nothing about Salesforce. And I learned that one of my teams was implementing Service Cloud. And so I very quickly dove right in, learned Service Cloud with my team and implemented it. We were very delayed on that engagement, but we somehow got the train back on track. By the time we were live, we had 0 bugs and 0 downtime, which I was very proud of our team for what we delivered. And so in 2018, I had this epiphany of, okay, I went from being a QA analyst to running a mini company inside of Acumen, because when you're a portfolio manager, you're responsible for your own team, hiring, your P&L. And so I thought to myself, like, I feel like I've learned everything I can. I've always wanted to have something of my own as a company. Maybe now's the time to start it. And what do I have to lose? So in 2018, Candor was born, and 7 years later, we're still here. And the reason I give you guys my journey is to show you that at any point in your life, you can pivot and pivot and pivot some more, as long as it's core to you and you're learning and it fits your needs. Like when I joined Accenture, I was just trying to get a job where I wasn't going to be bored and maybe get some travel. When I joined Deloitte, I was looking for something new and learning a different side of the industry. When I was at Disney and Fox, I was learning mobile and new technologies. And then I moved to Verity to really not make myself a dinosaur, because I think I was 29 when I joined Verity. And part of the reason I did that was I'm 29, and if I don't learn this cloud stuff now, I will become a dinosaur in my career. And then what? Because I could see how much ERP was going away. And so then over time, I just went from Verity to Pierce Washington, because at that time, it was about wanting a shorter commute for my sanity and my mental health. Then it was coming close to be with my family and move back to DC. Then it was something about me, of a dream I had. So every time I pivoted and changed careers or went to a different company, it was because my needs for myself were changing. And I think that's like really the key part is check in with yourself and see where you're at and think about the needs that you have. Are they being met? If not, where can I go? How can I network to get myself to the area to fulfill the needs I have? And then check in again, because those needs do change at times. So along that road was also like pivotal moments that helped me learn to check in on myself through my journeys. So, like there's reflect back on your own journeys and think about those life-changing moments. I always joke that my first life-changing moment was when my parents were trying to get rid of me because they sent me to India by myself from America at 13. I don't know whose parents do that, but I traveled the world alone to and from India back to the US. I think they were counting on me not coming back. Were like, this girl can't figure it out. But I did. I surprised them. Especially the return was very challenging. I was transiting through de Gaulle. I don't speak French. And this is really going to date me because this was in the 90s. You had to buy little calling cards and then find a payphone and do an international calling card to call your family. So I went to the store with sign language, figured out how to buy a calling card, went to the payphone, told my mom, like, I'm safe. I've made it to France. I'm going to wait for my connection to come back to the US. And the only advice she gave me was like, don't fall asleep. There's a lot of theft that happens. Don't lose your luggage. And I was very, very nervous, but I made it back. And, looking back later, like a year or two later, even in college, I was like, wow, what were my parents thinking sending me to India by myself at 13? But hey, I figured it out. So I think I can figure out more in my life, right? If I can do that at 13, I'm sure I can do more in my life. So another pivotal moment was when I accidentally graduated early. I was a double major and a double minor, which in the US usually means about 5 years of schooling. I accidentally finished college in 3.5 years, and accidentally was because I didn't want to graduate in 5. I doubled up on my credits. I would take extra classes and get permission from the university. So I would take on average at least 5 classes a semester versus the 3 to 4 they recommended. And then I took summer schools so I could speed it up a little, but I sped it up too much. So I was going to graduate in December. And that was going to be really, really bad for me because in the US, they just don't hire as much in the wintertime as they do when you're graduating in the summer. And I was very lucky at that point that Johnson & Johnson was actually offering a 6-month internship where you could take a semester off and go work with them full time. And so I was able to do that. I got the co-op. And it was life-changing for me because that was the first time I realized how much I was like not ready for corporate America. It really gave me that early on experience to understand that I was not built to sit at a desk all day in the same job over and over again. And so when I came back to finish my last semester, that's how when the consulting panel came through, it was a light bulb moment for me. Like, this is what I need to be doing because I've already realized I get bored quickly. I want to be able to do new things every few months. And so I entered consulting, and I thought it was just going to be a way to just get some work experience and then figure out where my life was going to go. But I never realized how much I was going to fall in love with consulting. And through, I think this was the best thing I'd ever done for myself. And my career just started there. I don't know how many of you remember CrowdStrike last summer, where the entire travel industry was brought to a halt for days because something wasn't tested. And it was like one piece of code that didn't get tested that brought the whole world down for travel. Well, you're looking at the infamous No Test Annie, because I actually brought Department of State down for 3 days where no shipments were clearing any ports in the world for Department of State. And when shipments don't clear the ports when they're supposed to, you actually get fined. So not only did I break the system across the world, I also helped Department of State incur a lot of fines for those days because I didn't test one ad hoc scenario. I tested every other scenario that was like the right paths, the no test paths, but I didn't try to break the system as well as I could have. And some code passed, and it took us 3 days to uncover it and get the system back up and running. That was one of the biggest life lessons I had, because today I can find bugs in less than 30 seconds because I was like, I will never do that again. for a year, my clients joked, and that was my nickname, No Test Annie. And I really had to redeem myself by learning a big lesson in that is like, don't rush through things, quality over quantity, and take your time, take a breath. And it's okay if mistakes happen, but learn from them, right? Mistakes will always happen. We're humans. We are always going to make mistakes. But the pivotal moments really become about learning from those mistakes and moving forward from them and ensuring that you don't repeat the same mistake. You might repeat a similar mistake that's different, but you're learning again. And then, as I mentioned about the dinosaur part, like that was really about switching from ERP to cloud. So stay relevant, right? Like that was one thing that I'm so glad in that moment, this new cloud thing that was happening all around, which people weren't bought into at the time, it was really starting to take off. And I'm so lucky and blessed that I was able to pivot and had that foresight to say, no, I need to go over here and really learn this technology to stay relevant in my career. And I would say today, out of all of these, and there's more moments, but these are the few that I like to call out, is really taking that chance and that risk of starting Candor. Candor started in April 2018. We're about to come up on our 7-year anniversary, but I actually created the name Candor and filed for it in 2015. And it was in the middle of the night where I thought about Candor, or like having my own company. And I was like, what am I going to name it? And at like 3 a.m., I'm just writing words that describe me or people that have used words or adjectives to describe me. And I just started going down a rabbit hole of taking those words, looking up definitions, looking up the words in the thesaurus, finding words that I like, and checking to see if any websites are available for it. And most of the websites were already taken for every word I would find until I stumbled on the word Candor, Candor. And I read that definition and immediately it was like, oh my God, that's me. That is 1000% me. And at that time in 2015, that was when companies were naming things in a funky way. So then I was like, what if I just change the C to a K and this to a this? And I looked up candorconsulting.com, Kander consulting.com. And my heart sank because it was already taken. But I was already bought into this name and I was like, this is it. So then I was like, okay, what about Candor Consult? And candorconsult.com was not taken. I immediately emailed my dad and I was like, can you help me figure out how to purchase this site? He helped me figure it out. And then year over year, we just renewed it. And 3 years later, we launched it into an actual thing, into giving birth to it 3 years later. So it was an idea and a concept in 2015. And I was like, one day I'll get to it. I don't know what it'll be about. And in 2018, it was just the right moment from learning all the things I had, putting myself in the career paths that I had to then give birth to Candor. And I will say I've been loving this journey that I've been on for 7 years, and I don't think I'll ever look back. So keep those pivotal moments. Think about your own pivotal moments, because each one of us is really trailblazing our own journey and building these chapters in our book. And they add and add and add, and they never detract. Even if you feel like you're going a little backwards, which I had at times. When I look back at everything, I was like, actually, I wasn't. I was supposed to be there in that moment and learn from it so I could have this additional chapter in the future. Another big part of my journey was learning my worth. So living in DC, it's a very big bubble. I never realized my worth in the industry until I left DC. I learned how to say no, and that was really big. When I say power of no, like learning to say no to things, but also like learning to say no to things that does not feed you, does not fill your cup. Learning to negotiate, to know your worth, and then also identifying your strengths and capabilities. There are a lot of things I am not great at, and I now know that about myself, but there are things I am really good at. So what I try to do is really focus on the things that I'm really good at. And then if the things that I'm not really good at, if I can't learn more, or I just know that like that's never going to be a strength of mine, I find others to help fill that gap with me so we can be fully whole together and complement each other versus trying to be all. I think when you try to be all, we end up failing. And that's part of the power of no, right? Knowing when to say, okay, this is just not my strength. I need to go find that capability elsewhere to complement me. I don't think it doesn't make sense for me to expunge energy there. The power of negotiation was really cool because at Pierce Washington, that was the first time I also learned my worth, but also the negotiation. Because when I was interviewing with them and negotiating my package, and they gave me an offer that was actually below my current offer, my current position. And I very politely declined. And one of the partners in the firm called me and he's like, Pallavi, I don't understand. Why won't you come over? Why did you decline the offer? And I was like, well, I'm not seeing progression. Like I met your team. Everyone's been in the same role for year over year. I'm looking for a place that I can grow in. And I want to know that there's going to be a chance for me to grow into different positions in the firm and be part of the leadership team. And he immediately heard me and he's like, I'm going to put you in touch with one of our other resources that you haven't talked to. He's been growing in the company and we're actually putting together a career plan for everybody in our company. I was like, great. Another was like, I wanted certain type of projects and the work I wanted to be able to do and lead teams again. And they're like, yes, we will make that happen. And lastly, I was like, I need to be paid better. This offer is below the salary I received today. And they actually met me on all of those terms because I was able to negotiate. I knew my worth. I used the power of no. I knew my strengths and capabilities. And that's really when I was like, oh my gosh, I can actually do this. And after that, everywhere else I worked, I negotiated. I learned my worth. Even at Candor today, we pick and choose the clients we work with because we know our strengths and capabilities, and we want to really shine on those and give the clients the best in those areas. But I didn't do it alone. I will tell you, throughout my journey, I found my tribe. And my tribe changed along the way, and it still does. And it was always around the needs I had of what I needed in that moment. So I always sought out mentors that were in a place that I one day wanted to be so I could learn from them, because lessons learned in your own life are the best advice you're going to receive from anybody else. So I sought out those mentors who had been CEOs in companies or started their own or changed technologies, and just asked them questions, found time to be consistent with them, and actually verbally ask them to be my mentor. Anytime I find somebody, even today, to say that I feel like I can learn a lot from, I do ask them. I'm like, would you be my mentor? And there are times, sometimes they will say no because they don't have the time, or they don't feel like they're going to do justice to the needs I have. And that's the power of no as well, is for everybody to know when to say no. And then there's times when the mentors are like, yes, happy to do it, but here's what I can commit to you. And having those conversations and those negotiations make it really important and really help set the bar for the relationships you build. And then I've had role models. I have famous role models that I look up to. I have personal role models that I look up to. My father being one of the biggest role models in my life. And then I follow industry leaders to see what's happening, to stay relevant, to be able to learn and absorb, read articles, and see what their journeys look like. Outside of having mentors, role models, and leaders, I also really lean in on my peers who are at different parts of their own journeys, to learn from them, to support them, and have a symbiotic relationship. And then to like check myself and make sure I'm not going crazy, I have my core friends that keep me grounded, that are there to support me, even if they don't know what I do in Salesforce, even if they don't understand the consulting world, because it's important to just find your tribe in the most authentic way possible to ensure that you are being true to yourself, but you're constantly filling your cup as you're pouring yourself out to others. And this has been part of my secret sauce of feeling blessed and lucky. Like we were talking on the Golden Hoodie panel, we were talking about community. I will tell you, the Trailblazer community has given me mentors and role models. I've met industry leaders through it. I have wonderful peers who have now become my friends. And I have this beautiful tribe inside the community, but I also have a tribe outside of the community to ensure that all the areas that I don't have strengths and capabilities on, I have people I can lean in on to get advice, to get support, to really make me whole in a 360 way, to really be as successful for myself and as authentic for myself as possible. So, be true to yourself, be authentic you, true to the core, right? I love that session Parker does, but it really also resonates with me of like me being true to the core for what we did, what I've done with my journey, how I've picked and chosen, where I wanted to go for my next career step, even how I built Candor today. Creating the name Candor was very true to my core. I wanted to do something in a way that was disrupting the industry for consulting. I can't tell you how many times we don't get into the 50-page documents and the 200 PowerPoint slides that I used to do in my other consulting firms. We try to keep it simple and succinct and candor, and we're honest and transparent with our customers. And sometimes they take a step back and they're like, wait, we haven't had this before. This is not what consulting is. I'm like, yeah, we're changing consulting. We're going to disrupt it because I want to be authentic. I want to be me. I want to have fun while I'm doing this and really enjoy all the things in my life. And so when I even built Candor, I kept it true to myself of wanting to enjoy traveling, wanting to enjoy my hiking and snowboarding. So I created a global remote company because that was what was the right fit for me. And as we started growing, it became the right fit for our team members who wanted that lifestyle of being able to work remotely, do good stuff, but also have time to integrate their life into work versus having work-life balance. I don't, being in consulting all my life, working those crazy hours, missing birthdays has never been fun for me. Not being available for my family. Like, kid you not, the week my sister was getting married, I was going live with my CPQ. So half the time at her wedding as her maid of honor, I was on a laptop. And that was not okay. So I wanted to build a company that you could integrate life into your work and have it symbiotic. So I'll leave you with that of being authentic. And, my Indian culture, my heritage really is integrated into what we do at Candor today as well, and how I live my life. And I'll pause here to see if anyone has any questions.
Pallavi, thank you so much for sharing your honest and authentic story with us today. Your example about testing a code or not testing a code is very special. I think it is important to share not only success stories, but sharing real life examples. And this is very important lesson here. We are allowed to make mistakes as long as we learn from them. And I love seeing how this has resonated with the audience, judging by the comments in the chat. Okay, let me read some of the questions we have in the chat.
Sure.
Your journey as a trailblazer is truly inspiring. Looking back, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who is just starting their career in the Salesforce ecosystem? Like for the newcomers who want to enter the ecosystem now, how can they start?
Yeah, so I will tell you this. First, think about what you really want. One of the exercises I did when I was looking for my next job between Verity to Pierce, Washington, one of my mentors actually helped me through it, was what are you good at? What do you enjoy? What can you get paid for? And I wrote them down into different circles. And it turned out I really enjoy volunteer work, nonprofit work, but I'm not going to get paid for it. And I, at the time, also was like, what is my non-negotiable, right? I was living in San Francisco, which is a very expensive city. I had student loans. So for me at the time, getting a salary at a certain amount was the most important thing, so I could sustain my my lifestyle there. And so figuring out your non-negotiables, so then it's easy to say no to the things that you can because those are your flags, but you know what your non-negotiables are. And then knowing that, like, I was good at volunteering and I enjoyed it and I'm good at it, but I'm not going to get paid for it. But then I looked like I'm good at consulting too, and I can get paid for it. And because my non-negotiable at the time was getting a salary, that made more sense for me. And so then I was like, okay, I can still fill my cup of volunteering and the nonprofit by volunteering in different areas in my free time. Right. So it's really first about figuring it out, because in my user group, we have people who come and they're entering the ecosystem and they're just like, I'm looking for a job. I'm like, well, that doesn't help me. What are you looking for? And I think there's a bit of misguidance where a lot of times everyone thinks to enter the ecosystem, you have to just go get your admin cert and become an admin. No, like, think about what your skills are. So I'll give you a secret. I don't have an admin cert. I have 0 certs. I barely go into the system. I don't know how to configure the system because I never did that in my career, right? My goals in my journey in my careers was testing the software, talking to the business and solution design, think through it, pull the right requirements, guide them through the journey. And I had an amazing team of architects all the time throughout my career, from Accenture to Pierce, Washington to Acumen. They were the experts. They could build a system. I never had to build it. So when I started Candor, I still leveraged my capabilities and started the company. And then I brought the technical pieces into the technical team members in to fill that. So think about what you want to do. You can be a marketer and transition into Salesforce. You don't have to be a Salesforce admin to be part of the ecosystem. Take what you know and then find your fit inside the ecosystem.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. I have one more question for you. You've led so many organizations through digital transformation. What do you think is the biggest challenge companies face when adopting new technology nowadays? And how do you help them to overcome it?
That's a great question, because that's why Candor started, actually. So remember that CPQ project I was telling you, going live in the middle of my sister's wedding? And it took us 1.5 years to implement it at Vanguard, which is a very big financial firm in the US. 6 months later, they canceled it. They unraveled the whole thing. They were like, never mind, it's not for us. And I can give you more stories of those that I've built, right? So it really is about, and the reason they unraveled it is they never understood it. They didn't go on the journey as well as they could have because there wasn't enough organizational buy-in. So part of making it successful and making sure people are actually using it and stays relevant and the digital transformation is successful is not just jumping into the solution, but really understanding the business needs, the business priorities, and making sure all the solutions we're building tie to those needs and can grow with them long term. But then there's a whole aspect of change management, right? And that's part of the reason that Vanguard project failed. It wasn't so much that we didn't build to the business needs. They didn't believe in change management. So they didn't get in front of the users for change. Change is uncomfortable for all of us as humans. It's just a psychological thing. I personally don't like change myself. So the more we get in front of it to say, hey, this is coming and this is why, and give the reasoning and the context, and then get people to use it and get familiar with it, especially in those like testing iterative phases, to ensure we are meeting their business needs and things like that. That's where digital transformations can then be successful. And even today, we sometimes miss the mark.
Yes. Pallavi, your career journey is very impressive and it's a true inspiration to many of us. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Now it's time to recognize and express our gratitude to the amazing sponsors and partners who helped us to make it all possible today. Their support enables us to bring together this community and create opportunities for learning and growth. Andrei, over to you.
All right, thank you. So, as you're used to, usually we have a demo jam. Today we'll be doing it a little bit different. So, since we have different types of partners and sponsors this time, I will introduce them to you, and of course we'll have one good demo, but at least we don't have to rush this one. So no 3 minute mark. So these are the 6 sponsors who've made today and today in the past 6 months possible. Of course, there's a Trailblazer community. This is probably a logo or a name you see popping up a lot. But I don't think many people know that this is a team within Salesforce who supports us, the community. So, for instance, as organizers of user groups and dreaming conferences, they support us in all different ways, with like event management, project management, and also a bit financially. And this is the same team that runs the MVP program and the Golden Hoodie program. And next time, when you're at the Dreaming conference, they most likely have a booth as well. So go and say hi to them, and thank you. Then we also have Amdrot. So they are an implementation partner based all over the world, and they also have a few products. Like they specialize in SPIF or sales performance. And for instance, they have the app Smart Lead Converter, and that is just something to really make the lead conversion process a lot better than what it is out of the box. And there's also the SPM utility, and that is really for energy and utility management companies. So I would say a bit like the industry clouds you have, but then built by a partner. And then we have Sharing Picks, one of our longtime sponsors. They're an App Exchange partner, and they have multiple apps, but also they're one of the few partners who have an action on the Agent Exchange. If you don't know the Agent Exchange, go to the App Exchange and you see the new button. Have a look there. And they do everything visual. So images, videos, but also offline forms. And especially for those photos, images, and videos, there's also editing, and it's all in Salesforce. So that's very, very useful to not only have text in Salesforce. And then there's Cloud Muscle. It's an implementation partner, and they're based in the Netherlands with an international team from all over the world. But they are focused on professional services, staffing, recruitment, and as one of the partners, they actually have a data-driven approach, and of course, they also promote that to their customers. yeah, come and say hi to them, and actually all the other partners and sponsors I just mentioned this afternoon in Amsterdam. And another exchange partner that's based in the Netherlands is Sliced Bread. And this is one of the, well, this is the only native ETL solution on the App Exchange. So for anything data imports, exports, data transformations, and especially when it's about, like it says here, import data at scale, so really large volumes. So they do that well, and it's also in a secure way. And then we also have PDF Butler. So they've been our partner since day one. Like when YeurDreamin started as an idea in 2018, they were there for us, and it's really grown into a good partnership, supporting each other. With the headquarters in Belgium, they have multiple apps. Document generation is definitely how they started. Of course, you see it in the name, PDF Butler. They also have e-signature and other things. But Andries is here to tell us more about it. You can.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You can tell us a lot more about PDF Butler and what it can do and everything around it.
Yep, I can, and I will also give you a happy flow, show a process from creating a quote or an opportunity, get it signed, and get it stored. Yes, that's what I'm going to present, and I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. Thank you. So if you start sharing your screen, I would say over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, quick introduction of myself, Andries de Jonge, already for 25 years in the media business, working with Salesforce now for 6 years. And during COVID, I started to implement Salesforce for some media companies here in the Netherlands. During that time, with the platform we were implementing, some good document generation was missing. And that was the reason I came along with PDF Butler. And I was really happy about the platform and the product, especially on the support. So after I stopped implementing Salesforce, I became working for PDF Butler, and I'm doing this now for 2 years, responsible for the Dutch market. PDF Butler, 6 years ago, founded by Igor Stuyver in Belgium. Currently, we are with around 70 people all around the world, from Japan, Australia, Europe, and in the US. And we have a support team also covering Follow the Sun. So on any moment when you have a question, suggestion, we have a fantastic team who will support you with questions. Yeah, I'm going to show of course, a happy flow with Salesforce. Hopefully you can see my screen. I'm sharing it currently.
Yep.
Good. Of course, you're all familiar with with Salesforce, or almost, or learning. PDF Butler. The basis of our product is a document generation, working from every object within Salesforce. So a custom or a standard object, it doesn't matter. You can connect our app and visualize data. The output is PDF, of course, a docx, Excel, PowerPoint, or an email. And the basis for the template is Word. Besides PDF Butler, what is the basis? We also developed Sign Butler. I'm going to show you later on as well. What is, of course, completely compatible with the requirements that are set all over the world for digital signature. We have created also Form Butler, where you can generate a form, send it out to a client, to a prospect, who can fill in information or update data. And by saving the form, this data is pushed back into Salesforce. We have also Collaboration Butler. That's the connection between Salesforce and Google Workspace, or Salesforce and SharePoint, so that all documents you are generating on Salesforce can be stored on SharePoint. So that will save storage, but it also gives you the ability to create in a structured way folders and make sure that the rights are correctly in line with the Active Directory, for instance, from SharePoint. Besides this, we also have Bulk Butler. It's already in the name, bulk, generating documents, signatures in bulk and sending it out. And last but not least, we have also Contract Butler, where you can do the contract negotiation with the opposite party, with redlining, version control, approval flows, in and exclude clauses. And when it's done, then you can generate, of course, with PDF Butler, a nice PDF and get it signed by Sign Butler. Okay. What I'm now going to demonstrate is just an opportunity with some products, different languages, what we of course support also with the based on country, the decimal separators will take care of this according to the Salesforce specs. We support all languages that are supported by Salesforce. And if you have a really local language, of course, you can use the translation workbench. In this case, we have, of course, the opportunity, a name, we have an account. It's my surname's business and a primary contact, Johan Cruijff in this case. And Johan is a new customer and his primary language is Dutch. As expected, when you now generate the car quote, and it's lightning fast, it is going to be Dutch. Quote voor, that's Dutch. But what is important, also the date is in the Dutch format. We have a long version and we have a short version. If you want me to change this short version into the long version, it will take me 30 seconds. Of course, the audience is English, so we're going to change this quickly to English, but you see the template is in Dutch, and this is the data coming out of Salesforce. At the bottom, we have some buttons, and I will explain later. Okay, so we are multilingual, multi-currency. We support it all. So when I now change the contact person to, let's take Michel Platini, a famous footballer as well, and we generate the quote again. Of course, it's going to be in French. And also the date notation is directly French. I think you will get it. So what I will do now is change it one more time to David Beckham. I have also Frans Beckenbauer, by the way, if you want to have it in German, but let's stay with David Beckham because he is an English famous football player. Again, I will generate the quote and go quickly over it. And then we're going to make some adjustments and then regenerate the quote. Okay, here we go. Of course, it is in English now. You will see date notation is English. The text is English. These are different templates in our backend. You have to create it once, and when it's done, it's easy to update. What you also directly see, we missed some vital information here. We're going to use Form Butler in a minute to collect this information from David. What you see here, personal text. You can write some extra personal text, of course, and if we leave it blank, of course, we can make sure this text will disappear. Scrolling down, you see a picture, a nice picture of a car. This is now stored on Salesforce, but if you have an external product database, it is also possible to make a call to this database and collect all the information, what is relevant for the quote. We support tables. If we add an extra product, of course, an extra line will be here. And I'm going to change this type of client to an existing customer. And then you will see that this client or David will get 10% discount. That will mean that there will be an extra column where you also see the discount. This value here, it's a sum, of course, of these values. Probably this is in Salesforce, but if this sum is not in Salesforce as a value, it is possible with PDF Butler to make this calculation as well. Scrolling down, of course, some extra nice pictures. And here at the bottom, we see a really nice white spot. When I'm changing the type of customer, you will see that there is some text with extra discount. And this is really helpful because it's pretty easy to hide or visualize data, tables, pictures, or whatsoever based on a logic. We call it in the Netherlands, Jip and Janneke. It is like if this, then that. And in this example, if customer is existing, then show the text. Okay, but I'm going to show you in a minute. Scrolling down, what you will see here, we also prepared it for digital signature with Sign Butler. In this case, we have only one signee, but if you want to have a dynamic way or add extra people who needs to sign, you can use our manual sign functionality. About the dynamic signature, it is easy to create a rule like if value of the order is more than 10,000, also we need an external signature or an internal signature. So that's really flexible. Of course, there's a reference number. You can make this that you have to fill it in. So when it gets signed, you receive a PO number so that for invoicing, there is a connection with the buying partner. Okay, at the bottom, I said forward to manual sign gives me the option to add manual by manual putting extra people in who needs to sign the contract. Added before mail quote. In this case, we're going to use a Lightning template. What we can still edit before sending it out, and this quote will be attached. Of course, the template will be English because David is English. If it was sent to Johan Cruijff, it was in Dutch. I can also say, okay, just mail this quote to David Beckham. Then I click here. I can also download it, of course, and then send it separately out of Outlook, or in our case, I'm going to close it. Okay, let's move on. So as said, I'm going to change the type of client to an upgrade client. What we can edit this, and what is possible as well is that you add images. Let me take a small one. I prepared this for this morning. And save it. And what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to add an extra product, because based on a product, in our case, some extra documentation will be added to the quote. In this case, I take the rims, some nice rims. We need 4 of them. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to drive. And when I'm generating the quote in a second, you will see that the rims are, of course, added as a product, but also we have some extra information about the rims. That's in this case automatically, but we can also do this manually. So we have a component that's called the PDF Butler Dynamic Selector. If you want to add extra information to this quote, you can do it automatically, but you can do it also by hand. So for instance, if there is a winter promotion, whatever, I can just select this file and put it here. And when I generate the quote, it will be added to my total PDF. In this case, I'm going to remove it, but trust me. Going back again, you see here also another component. In a minute, we're going to ask to sign by David Beckham this quote. We have here a record where all data is stored. We have a PDF Butler Live Edit. This gives you the opportunity to edit the quote before you send it out to David. You have a standard contract and the payment terms are 30 days, for instance. But in this case, the client wants to have 60 days. Well, of course, you can create a new template and then change only the 30 to 60 days. But in this case, what you can do is also download the docx, open the contract in Word, change from 30 to 60 days, save it on your PC, upload it again with this component, and then the new version is again in the flow. Going further, we have here a component that's our form butler. As said, we're going to miss some information from David, so we're going to ask him for his VAT number, telephone number, etc., etc. I'm going to do this in a minute. But let's first go to the car quote. I'm going to generate the quote again, and we will see some differences, and I'm going to send it out also to David directly. To make use of this element, you have to be on the activity tab. And when I click car quote generate, the new version is here. We know this all, right? We have seen it. Hey, we see a nice logo into the personal text. It's just standard what you can do with our technology. But when I scroll down, we see the rims here. And because it's an existing customer, we see also an extra column in the table. And that's just with a simple logic. Also, the calculations with the discount are placed here. So that's really a nice feature functionality in our technology. And when we scroll down, as said, the white spot, we see now some extra text. Further down, we have some extra information about the rims. So in this case, we add a product, and our logic is if product rims is selected, please add this extra information. And you can do that with a lot of use cases. Okay. Quote is ready. I'm going to send it to David for his information. So we have the option added before mail quote. And what now is happening? An email is prepared to David Becken. I'm in BCC. We have a prepared subject line based on macros, of course. And here we have a standard email template. And David, dear David, and we can adjust this email. Nice match yesterday. And then we can send it out. Of course, the PDF is attached. If we want, we can also add some extra files. For instance, if we have connection with Collaboration Butler to SharePoint, we can also add files from SharePoint here. And it's, of course, related to the opportunity. Sending it out, email is sent out, and of course, it's directly placed on the activity. It is currently unopened, but when we open it, it will be a date notation when it was opened. When I'm now off tomorrow and David calls my colleague, he or she can see what is the status and what is the situation of the order. Now, I can tell you, David called. He said, hey, I want to buy this car. Very good. That's great, David. We're going to send you a sign request. But before we can do this, we need some information from you because we are lacking some vital data. We use Form Butler for this in this example. So when I generate a form with Form Butler, we have all the information we have already of David pre-populated, but also the information we're missing is empty. So we need his phone number, we need his VAT, his address, etc., etc. Maybe also some additional information. If he wants to fill it in, he can select this as well. And my colleague says to David, David, watch your inbox. There's an email with a link. Please fill in the information and submit it to us. I can now go into my inbox, but I go directly to the contact of David Beckham and go to his timeline, and you will see the email is in his inbox. This is a standard Lightning template, but you can adjust, of course. It is English, but if it was for Platini or for Franz Beckenbauer, it was in French or in German, of course. When David clicks on the link, he sees the same form as we saw just in Salesforce, and David says, it's not David, it's Sir David, and this is his telephone number. I'm a man. I live on the Beckham street in the city of London. Zip code is a lot of nines. The country is UK, of course. And for the rest, we leave it. It is also possible to upload some extra files if needed, driver's license, for instance, or whatsoever. Or he can save it because the doorbell was ringing. And when he comes back, he can submit the information. But we forgot something because we also need the VAT. So when we fill this in, a number, I can submit it. And in a couple of seconds, we get the message, form submitted, you can close this page. So when we now go back to Salesforce, you will see that when I click on David, it's now Mr. Sir David Beckham. His gender is filled. His phone number is filled. And when we go to the account level, we'll see that the VAT is filled and that the address is filled. So by using Form Butler, we can add and update information. Okay, now we have all the information. We can go to the next step, and that is get the order signed. So back to the proposal, and to make it possible to send it out, in our example, you can do this, of course, also automatically, we have to go to the negotiation and review stage. And when I now click on the car quote, something will change big time at the bottom. Because in the other example, we could email. In this case, we can send it out for signature. Again, we can forward it to manual sign by adding extra people who needs to sign. We can send it for sign with it's me. That's especially for Belgium. We can send on sign quote. In this case, a standard email template is sent out with this quote attached to it, and then redirects directly to the signing page. Or what we will do is also sign quote now, where we'll go directly to the signing page. What also is maybe good to show is that because we are in this stage, we also add the general terms and conditions.
Sorry, can I just interrupt for 2 seconds?
Yes.
I think in the previous screen with the form, we didn't see that on our side. Can you maybe quickly show that again?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was afraid for that. So let me close this, and then you have seen, right, the form we generated. Now all the information is, of course, in because I just entered it. So let me close this, and let me quickly then change again some information from Sir David Beckham, so that I can show you. Okay. So the story is that we still need some information from David Beckham before he can sign the contract. So again, we have here the form where some information is missing. I assume you will see this. I'm going to send the email to David. And when I go to David, his activity timeline, you will see this email he just received. So when David opens his email client, he will see the same email. And when he clicks on the link, he will go to, and now you will see it, the same form as we have seen in Salesforce, but he does see it now online. So David has now the option to say, hey, I'm not David, I'm Sir David. And my phone number is a lot of fours, for instance. I'm a male. And my VAT number is 5555. And I'm not living in the Beckham Street, but in the Victoria Street. as already said, but you haven't seen it, you can also attach some extra files. You can save it. And when I click on submit, or David in this case, you get the message form submitted, you can close the page. So when we now go back to Salesforce and we click on the name of David Beckham, you see that it's David Beckham. But when I click on it, what you will see is that now his name is updated to Sir David Beckham. He's a male and his phone number is filled in. When I go to the account name, you will also see that his VAT is filled in. So with Form Butler, you can add and update information. Okay. Thanks, Andre, for jumping in so that it's for everybody clear how Form Butler works. Going back again to the opportunity, and I try to get some speed into this, but it takes some time because there are a lot of steps and we can do a lot with the technology. When I generate now the quote again, as already explained a minute ago, we are able to send it out for signature. And because of the stage of ready for signature, we have added the general terms and condition. So in this case, we just click sign quote now. And what now happens? An extra page is opened. I'm going to share it directly with you where you can sign the contract. So this is what David will see when he clicks the link in the email he receives. This is now Sign Butler branded, but of course you can brand it to your own look and feel. The environment is English because David is English, but if you want to have it in Dutch, of course you can change it here. Before going here, I'm going to show you quickly again Salesforce, because when we create a sign request, we create a record, a sign request. And in this record, we store all information about this sign request. So when I click on the details, we come into this, where you have an overview of the sign request. The name, the status, when it was created. If you put an expiration time on it, it will display here. A rejection reason. So if somebody rejects, you can read here what is the reason. The number of people who needs to sign. In this example is just one person. If we would have added an extra signer, it would be, of course, 0 out of 2. The related record. We have the document. When we have completed the signature, there will be an extra document here. That is a COC, a certificate of completion. Especially banks and insurance companies love that the audit trail, what we log, is stored in a separate document. We shall also see the signers, in this case just one, Sir David Beckham. If there were 2 or 3, of course they were listed here. In the signing process, we support series signing, parallel signing, witness signing, group signing, all kind of signing procedures are supported by our tool. And of course, later on, the activity will be here as well. As we did not send out an email, it's not here. If you send it out for email, then the email would be listed here as well. Okay, let's go back to the sign Butler part. As said, you can change the language. Here at the bottom, you can reject or reassign. If you received this by accident, you can reassign it to somebody else who is allowed to sign. And here at the bottom, you can say, sign the document. But of course, I do get an error because I have to mark, I have read and approved the entire document. But when I try to click that, to mark that, it says, listen, Dries, you didn't read the complete document. So we are really forced to go on and read the whole document. What gives us a very good moment to fill in the reference number. You're dreaming. Scrolling down, we see the general terms and conditions. And now we're here. Great. Now we are able to click, I have read and approved the entire document. And now I'm able to click on sign the document. Here we have an in-between step. You can remove this, but it is also possible to upload some extra files. We have clients, for instance, who bring cars to people in front of the door, and before they sign the contract that the car is from them, they make some pictures, upload them here, that the car was delivered in a very good state. For now, we'll skip it, and then you see the options we can use to sign this contract. So of course we have the handwritten. What we can do is also draw. I do this with my mouse. If you open it on a laptop, on a tablet, or on a phone, you can do it with your finger. We have an option to request a one-time code by mail. You can upload a nice image with a picture of your signature. It's pretty old school, but it still happens. We support also SMS, so that you receive a code on your mobile phone. Especially for the Netherlands and for me in Belgium, there's also a way that you sign with your bank app in the Netherlands. If I click next, the QR code is generated. I open the bank app on my mobile phone, scan the QR code, and then I can sign the contract. Good to mention is that the SMS, Eden, and It's Me are extra services out of our technology, so an extra cost is here involved. But for now, let's use this. I have no inspiration, so I just create something, and when I click sign, it takes a couple of seconds, and then the contract will be signed. Document is signed, and we can close this window. It's not what we're going to do. I'm going back to the sign request, what I already showed you earlier, where before we signed it, the status was pending. And when I refresh now this page, some stuff is changed. Of course, it's finished because 1 out of 1 has signed. What we also see, we have a nice audit trail, step by step. There is logged what is done by who. And now it's not that long because it was just one signer. But if you have a couple of signers, of course, you will have a huge amount of data here. Also, when it takes somebody too long to sign, reminders are sent, of course. We see a nice green mark behind Sir David Beckham because he has signed. And what I already said, the certificate of completion is also generated. So this is a separate document where all the content of the audit trail is stored. Of course, the actual contract, and maybe I'm going a little bit quick, the actual contract, what we have signed, is also available, of course. Here it is. And then you will see my really nice, going quickly, sorry for your eyes. And here you see my signature. If I would have used Collaboration Butler, this contract would be stored on SharePoint. Last but not least, I'm going back to the opportunity. When we left here, it was a negotiation state. When I refresh now the quote, the opportunity, of course, it's going to be in a closed won status, and the reference number with YeurDreamin is filled. For sales, it's now done. Now, somebody else, finance can send an invoice, operations can do his next step, but from here, it is completed in the happy flow. So in short, we have PDF Butler, the basis, generating a quote. Output in this case was PDF, but you can also have an output of Excel, PowerPoint. Then with Form Butler, we requested some extra information or update information. And in the end, it was digitally signed by Sign Butler. And from here, I think I've completed the demo. I can talk about this for hours, but for now, I think it gives you a good idea of our technology.
Thank you. Thank you. We do have a few questions. I think we have a few minutes to go through those. I'll show them on the screen. The first one is, how is PDF Butler scale for enterprises with high document generation needs?
Not a problem at all. We have, of course, some big clients all over the world. We are native Salesforce, so we run on the tech stack of Salesforce. So there's not a reliability issue. And if you have a high volume of documents, then we have the product, for instance, of Bulk Butler, where you can generate and send out documents in bulk and in batches. So that's not a problem at all, Andre.
Okay. Then I'm not sure if this is a long or short question or answer. So how's the document offered to the customer for the signing, and especially then what's the technology used behind it?
Yeah, it is of course Sign Butler, our technology. But maybe the question behind it, does the customer need some technology on his PC, on his telephone? Absolutely not. It is in the browser. So, and it works on, in the app on Safari. All web browsers are supported. So for the person who needs to sign, there's no special installation of technology needed.
Okay, good. Then the last one, is it possible to see all the older versions of the generated PDFs?
Absolutely. I don't think we have time for this, but I love to jump, Joris, with you on a call and to show you. But in the backend, when you set up PDF Butler, my first time took me 3 hours to install PDF Butler, Sign Butler, generate my first document and get it signed. It was not nice, but the data was there. But you start with creating a data source, and from there with a SOCL builder. So it's easy for me. It was really easy to create a SOCL because we have a builder for that. But then if you go to the next step, that's the PDF Butler, then you make the decision how you want to generate the documents. In our demo, we just overwrite, but of course you can add version numbering to it so that you have a complete list of all the versions that you have generated over time.
All right, thank you. And then
I said I will be also. I'm already in Amsterdam, by the way. It's really close here, so I will be there at the end of the day. So if you're there, we can also have a cup of coffee or a chat on this questions you have later on.
Yeah, sounds good. But before we go to Amsterdam, one last question: which industries are using PDF Butler so far?
Doesn't matter. We support all industries, but we are, and I'm really a fan about this, is about the non-profit in the Netherlands especially, but we also have the automotive, we have the manufacturing industry, healthcare, insurance. So it is, food. We have a lot of. Maybe you saw it in my demo. I have some examples ready with demos for the healthcare, for the food industry, for the manufacturing. So we support everything, Elizabeth.
All right, thank you. So that's all for now. Please also have a look at the comments in YouTube. There's quite a few good comments. Thanking you. Great demo, and indeed, also thank you from my side, from our side. Thank you for doing this, and we'll see you in Amsterdam in the afternoon.
Absolutely. Good luck, and talk later.
Now, before we go to the next one, so this slide you saw before. There's of course Unleash Your Inner Trailblazer, our theme, and that's our goal. So what we've seen so far is 3 things: the Golden Hoodie Spotlight, really also highlighting the value of the community, and there hopefully it's become clear that it's not only about you unleashing your inner trailblazer, but also giving back and you unleashing other people's inner trailblazers. And then, yeah, the keynote, you know, a personal and professional journey. Hope that also has inspired you to maybe not follow the same journey, but make good steps in your own journey. And with the partners and the App Exchange solutions, they can also help you unleash your inner trailblazer, because that also includes your Salesforce skills, technical skills, and how cool is it that you can just install something instead of building it yourself. Now, there's a lot of knowledge, knowledge and experience that you've already heard, but of course there's more, as you're used to with our regular conferences. There's always a ton of speakers, and today is exactly the same. So I'd like to invite Jan back on the stage, because he's in charge of everything related to the speakers and the sessions.
And I was a couple of seconds too early. Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. I have some exciting news, as you can see on the slide here, right after this virtual event. So exactly at noon, and that's in 32 minutes exactly, we will be releasing the official YouTube playlist featuring all the incredible sessions recorded by our amazing volunteer speakers from around the globe. Each session is ready for you to enjoy whenever you like. Watch at your own pace, pause, rewind, or revisit as many times as you want, or even binge watch it at night instead of Netflix. And if you have questions or you want to share your thoughts, simply drop them in the comments section of each video. Our YeurDreamin team will keep an eye out on those comments and questions and make sure your questions reach the appropriate speakers. You can find the playlist right here on our YouTube channel, the official channel, but also, of course, on our website. A massive thank you to all our speakers for their dedication, creativity, and fantastic editing skills. I'm pretty sure that some of these recordings took more than a couple of takes to perfect. I've seen everything from clever screen recordings and Zoom presentations to professional quality productions that feel just like you're watching live in person. So I hope you enjoy the sessions, and we can't wait to see your comments and interactions. Happy binging on those. Next slide, Andre. Thank you. Of course, we are one of the Dreaming events. There are lots of community events organized all through the world. We're going to focus or zoom in more on the European ones. We are focused primarily on the Benelux market, but here you have an overview of the upcoming community events. And it starts already tomorrow with the Utrecht Salesforce Saturday. But of course, also mark your calendars for Polish Dreaming, Dreamolé, of course, Amsterdam and Brussels World Tours, and London's Calling in London in June. And one of our sister spin-offs, Architect Dreaming in June, the 4th and the 5th of June. I'm pretty sure that if you come to the live event this afternoon, you will be meeting maybe one of the organizers of Architect Dreaming, and you can talk all about that. So join those events, support the community, support by buying a ticket and going there. There are some wonderful locations, especially when it's summer out. I always love like Dreamolé. It's quite a bit early now, but still spring, but the sun will shine. So it's always nice to sit on a terrace between sessions. And then I think I can ask the whole organizing team on stage, or to get back in their cameras. And they are popping up just like that. Do we have everybody? Yes, we have everybody. So we're nicely on time. I want to thank everybody to attending and
And we lost him.
Oh no, last second, AV problem.
Maybe we finish off already.
Okay. Just in case Jan doesn't come back, yeah, one thing, the audience for sticking with us for a few hours, for all the volunteers to to make this possible, yeah, the volunteers and organizing team, also all the sponsors, partners, speakers, and also everyone who has bought a ticket or sent us a donation or both. Because yeah, those donations have also helped us make this possible. Thank you so much. Thank you, and we'll see you in Amsterdam or the next event.
Thank you.